and then your Grim Harvest is gone. On the draw, this hand is like slightly more appealing. We should probably be like in the 65% range or something to hit. 53, 19. Though many of those lands are going to come into play tapped as well. No, actually it's still 2 draw steps because we don't get a scry. Same math once again that we had previously saw. Yeah, just mulligan again, even though it's tempting to go like Vessel of Nascency and then hope that your cantrips fix your lack of land drops. Okay, this hand looks pretty reasonable. Now we do get to interact with the 1-drop. That was the crucial piece of the puzzle that we were missing in the previous match, though their deck is still full of creatures, so they can keep curving out, keep putting us onto the back foot. If they're elves, I would have liked to kill something different with that weight, but elves usually don't start on turn 1 at Ascendler because it's by far their worst 1-drop. Pretty much every other elf that they have in their deck is better to play on turn 1. So usually if there's turn 1 at Ascendler, you assume that it's Stumpy and not elves. Okay, it's like Essence Warden you want to have on the board so you gain extra life. All the 1-drop elves that make mana you want to lead on out of the elf deck, and then Korean Ranger even ends up being more flexible, so you can follow up with like turn 2 Priest of Titania. I guess in those draws it could be better to go turn 1 Letter Sentinel. But yeah, it's pretty low payoff in elves most of the time. So yeah, we keep falling behind here by turn 2 already, and then we play like a single 5/5. If they have the pump spell to be able to attack through it, we're pretty screwed. If they don't, then this might be the roadblock that helps us succeed. But this matchup doesn't feel great. I'm much more underwhelmed by this deck than I had previously anticipated. Like the red all-in deck I felt was likely to not be that great, and it actually ended up shining pretty nicely, though still some pretty sketchy matchups, but it looked impressive, and this deck, it looked very clean and really well executed when I looked at the deck list, but it's playing out a lot worse than I had expected it to. Because it should be super consistent, but it's like consistently average or consistently below average. And that's not the place that you want to be. Like if you know for sure that you're always going to be 45-55 against everyone, it's not really a deck that you want to pick up. You would rather have some variance, but then also have the ability to sometimes crush people. That hasn't really been the case so far. So what do I want? Definitely casting Angler next turn. Probably want one of these as a follow-up. And yeah, probably just Mendros because I need my card to be more mana efficient. I don't know. Also gives me some variety in threats that I currently don't have yet. My Trainer's Edict is also embarrassing here against the Young Wolf and the board already being this flooded. But yeah, once you go down the Crypt Rats and Pestilence and all that stuff route, then you might as well be playing Tortured Existence, as chat has already requested me to do and pointed out that it might be similar and or better. Yeah, then you're moving away from the main pull towards this deck, which is its simplicity and its reliability. Like it always does its thing every game. You can be sure that it works out in the way that you want it to, but if your main game plan is too awful, then it is not a good spot to be, as I said previously. Yo, Matrix. Pretty good, pretty good. Oh no, I wish I had a third green, though we can potentially luck ourselves into the untapped forest off of this vessel and then follow up with Hoodin Renders. Was it better for me to have taken Gurmik Angler now in hindsight? Probably, yeah. But that was because I drew Swamp. If I had drawn Forest, then I would have gotten rewarded for the Mandrills. And because I drew Swamp, then Gurmik Angler is now better. So it's kind of hindsight bias being a huge part for my preference there. A huge reason for my preference. So Werebear will end up not being a 4/4 once again next turn if I play any of these 2 drops and then Hooting Mandrills in the same turn. So I assume Putrid Leech is the best one because it will reliably have a body that is big enough to trade with any of their creatures. The other 2 are just going to be 1/1s. So I have to hope my opponent draws like a land here, so that their attempts to keep running into my board and throwing creatures away for damage eventually ends up with them putting me to a very low life total but ending up barely short of killing me, and I stabilize with multiple bigger creatures on the board. I'm testing out a bunch of different decks to see how they play. Okay, that's actually one of the most tame draws that my opponent could have had. And yeah, this one has been underperforming my expectations a little bit, though obviously random mid-rangey black-green deck is not the most promising place to be to start with. But yeah, it looked very nicely built with a lot of good ideas in the deck building. But maybe my misfortune of queuing into multiple Stumpy decks also makes this deck look a little bit worse than it should. Definitely not the most pleasant matchup. Okay, now we have the board under control, though our Trainer's Edict is still a bank. It does have insane potential, and it's also super reliable. Just 16 enablers, 8 payoff cards. That's a nice formula for deck building. Like whenever you can do that you have like 16 redundant pieces where each of them do the same thing and you can rely on the fact that your deck works, that's a pretty nice place to be. But the thing that you do has to be powerful enough so that you are reliably winning instead of reliably losing. Interesting. Okay. Double block here, so Vines of the Westwood is less of a concern. They just wanted to move their Rancor over somewhere else, I assume, and maybe enable Hunger of the Hallpack, though Hunger of the Hallpack they could have already enabled with the Spawn. So I'm not certain that's enough of a reason. Probably is they top decked Solana Ledgewalker and they wanted the Rancor available for their more or less flying creature. Yeah, exactly. Not much I can really do about it. Like I couldn't take the damage, and I couldn't make any block that doesn't kill the young dwarf, so I'm pretty screwed here. But there was no way to avoid it. Yeah. Yeah, this is awful. Game 1 I don't even have an out really. Because like there's no way for me to turn the race, Gnaw to the Bone and Cartouche of Ambition, and all those are in the sideboard. So, and there's no way to get this off of the board. Did I test out any? I did not test out any blue-white Monarch yet, no. No, I will be doing some red-white, blue-red, blue-white testing tomorrow probably, but I wanted to give some fringe decks a shot that I hadn't previously tested out. Okay, so I did like my sideboarding plan last game though. It still ends up pretty difficult to win the matchup, and the Nausea doesn't even help much. They have so many 2 toughness creatures. It's pretty unfortunate. Yeah, so probably this again. But yeah, we end up being 1 or 2 permanent answers short, 1 or 2 oubliette Crypt Rats. What was my last cut? I'm not certain anymore. I think I only boarded in 1 Gnaw to the Bone. Yeah, I guess that's correct. Because keeping the board under control is more important than gaining some life. and there's still a way for them to go over the top. Well, it can be gas, but if they're on the Elephant Guide or Hunger of the Hallpack Go Big plan, then it's pretty bad. And if your 5/5s are sitting there stalling the board and you're not making forward progress, it also ends up being pretty bad. It's only good once they enter a racing situation where they're barely ahead, and then Gnaw to the Bone makes it so that they're behind instead, surprisingly. In those situations, it's gas. But it's not like Burn, like you can't afford to, like against Burn you can afford to just let all your creatures sit in the graveyard, and then you go Gnaw to the Bone, cast into Gnaw to the Bone flashback, and they just can't win anymore. But in this matchup you have to aggressively cast your Delve creatures to keep up with the board. So that means that your graveyard is going to be a lot less full than it would be against a Burn deck. I want to kill this on side, but I think I have to make use of my black mana here and develop them board. Because there's no threat of Elephant Guide yet, so even if they Rancor this, it's a pretty decent life swing for them, but it still costs them quite a bit of tempo. So unless they specifically have Rancor and Vines of the Vastwood and are willing to keep the Vines of the Vastwood open through my turn, I don't care for the Vault Scourge that much yet. I guess it does enable Skargan Pit Skull by getting the 1 point of damage in here, but my Prudred Leech still blocks that favorably, for now at least. Yeah, this deck can very easily support 8 Delve creatures. The biggest issue is that the time that you spend on setting up Delve makes you fall behind on the board, and even if your creatures are oversized, then it might not necessarily be enough to catch you back up on the board. So this does look like they have a protective spell open, but I think I have to try this. Second Prudred Legions, that doesn't feel that great. I will commune with the gods and set up my Mandrills. Yeah, feels like I'm just getting destroyed again. This matchup is definitely not great. Okay, so now I have a 5-card hit where I can pick pretty much anything I want. Leaf Crown Ride actually seems pretty promising, so that even if they do end up putting Elephant Guide on this, I can potentially build my own 6/6 reach. And I don't want to be trading damage, I think. And Elephant Guide. Okay. Well. Yeah. And that. Yeah, that's definitely an issue. I think we need like 2 Oubliettes for sure. And not having them seems like a huge oversight. I mean, my plan is still to put Leaf Crown Ride on my Hooting Mandrills. But yeah, you can't just be dead to this type of thing. Even the Doomblade that I cut from the deck wouldn't be helping me. That way it doesn't answer it because it's too low impact. And Generous Edict doesn't answer it because they have random creatures lying around to protect it. So once again we are on the find Cartouche of Ambition and make a huge lifelinker or we are dead plan. And I don't like being on that plane constantly. That's not the world that I want to live in. So we go fetch Mandrills, next turn Leaf Crown, following turn Prudred Leech plus a 2-mana card. So then I guess Werebear, though it's not that high impact. Sure. I think I also need to be aggressively attacking, though racing against the lifelink thing isn't that favorable to me either. But I need to be taking some risks to stay in this game. Okay, so 2 Cartouches of Ambition, and also actually it's like slightly beneficial to me if they think that putting Rancor on the Burning Tree Emissary is great for them here, because I take extra damage this turn. God damn it. Okay, super dead. Can just concede this. Yeah, if we had Oubliette in our deck, everything might be fine to punish this. But yeah, my idea was they put Rancor on the Burning Tree Emissary so it has 4 power and can attack through my 4/4. And then if I make it into a 6/6 with the Leaf Crown Dryad, then neither of his creatures can attack. While if I leave this Putrid Leech back, then they are more incentivized to put Rancor on their Vault Scourge, and then my 6/6 doesn't profitably block their 6/6. So I was kind of baiting them into making a play that is better on this turn, but worse in the long run against a card that they did not know about yet. So that could have helped me stabilize. Well, I guess last round with this deck.